Pocket FM.
To unlock all the episodes, click the link in bio.
Jacob finds himself entangled in a web of secrets surrounding his teacher, Susan. Is Jacob's life about to take an extraordinary turn?
Me? Jacob looked confused as he pointed to himself. Susan nodded. Wow! The crowd gasped loudly, and murmurs spread across the classroom. The pretty teacher who caught every student's attention, and also the one who didn't give anyone any attention barring teaching her class, was acting out of the ordinary. Jacob being called out by her was shocking, and not only Jacob came in the limelight once again, he was getting shocked and envious looks from all the boys in the room. Susan nodded at Jacob without saying a word. She grabbed her lecture notes and walked out of the classroom. Jacob followed her, having no idea what on earth Susan had in mind for him. Walking through the hallways and passing the overbridge between the academic buildings, Jacob walked into Susan's office as a crowd of students looked at him with curiosity. Susan was a bit of a celebrity in the mechatronic engineering department and the university as a whole, owing not just to her beauty, but also the fact that she was single. Susan took out a key and opened the office door. Jacob smelled something refreshing as soon as the door opened. There were 6 or 7 pots of plants on the windowsill. The antique wooden furniture was far different from that provided by the university. It looked like Susan had bought them herself. The decoration of the entire office was elegant and graceful, making it seem like her own little world. Having her own office when most of the teachers had to share with each other showed that Susan's status here wasn't ordinary. All those carved chairs and shelves looked pricey. Susan's family seems to be well off, Jacob thought as he observed the office. Susan closed the door and placed her lecture notes on the table. She pulled out a rosewood chair and sat down gracefully. She looked at Jacob and asked, "Where are you from?" "Mechatronic engineering," Jacob answered. Jacob looked around the office and thought that he was probably the first student who was lucky enough to be here. "Don't try to avoid the topic," Susan stared at Jacob and said, Jacob was confused. He was a student of the mechatronic engineering department. Where else could he be from? Susan looked annoyed now as her otherwise pretty-looking face twisted into a nasty scowl. She took her slender hand and grabbed Jacob's wrist tightly. It didn't seem like she had that kind of strength, but Jacob knew he couldn't move his arm even if he tried. "As I expected, your element is water. Tell me, where do you belong? River, stream, lake, or ocean?" Susan moved closer to him now, and all Jacob could think of was how many guys would die of jealousy right now if they saw this. Jacob was too confused and distracted to answer. "If you can't answer me, I have enough reasons to kill you," Susan said with a shrewd expression, and her eyes made Jacob's body shiver with fear. Susan continued to glare at Jacob and minced her words in anger. "How can this be happening? How can a normal being like you give out the aura of a dragon? How did you learn the cultivation technique?" She moved away from Jacob and sat back into her chair. Jacob hesitated for a moment and said, "I learned it from Liam Davis." Susan frowned in surprise. "Oh, is that so? It is a bit weird that a normal human can mingle with the likes of a prominent dragon clan. How do you know Liam?" Jacob was tired of all the new information he had been receiving the past few days. Feeling overwhelmed, he threw his hands in the air in despair and said, "I'm not sure if I should be talking about this anymore. Who are you?" "I'm an inspector, and it seems that you don't know much anyway." Susan rubbed her head as if suppressing a headache. She waved at Jacob to leave, saying, "You can go now. I'll have a word with Liam." She made it look like she was in a higher position than Liam, despite him being the vice principal and her being a teacher. Jacob was totally puzzled as he got up to leave. He was about to go out the door when Susan said, "Though you're new, I still need to warn you that I won't hesitate to kill you if you reveal our secrets to the world." Phew! Jacob drew a long breath of relief after he shut the door to Susan's office. As soon as he reached his dorm, he was flooded with questions from the university boys who had gathered in the room. "What did Susan ask you? Why was she looking for you? Did you go to her office? Don't try to keep anything from us, dude. Did you do anything that drew her attention?" Jacob was surrounded by them, but he didn't part with any information as he didn't forget Susan's warning. Realizing they couldn't get anything from Jacob, the boys decided to turn to his roommates as they were his closest friends. However, Sam and the other two didn't know what Jacob had done to catch Susan's attention. The four of them were always together when they were at the university, but they didn't notice anything else Jacob did that would interest someone like her. As a consequence, Jacob going to Susan's office had become a mystery among the students. Jacob brought them a lot of gossip and surprises these days. Gradually, people started to think that Jacob was someone special. However, as the person involved, Jacob didn't join in the conversation with the others. He was wondering what they would think about him if they found out that he still had the vice principal's visiting card. It was late in the evening by the time the curious boys dispersed from Jacob's dorm room, leaving the four roommates to themselves. However, they were all way too excited to fall asleep. Especially Sam, who kept asking Jacob what was with him and Susan. Jacob could make an excuse to fool the others, but it was hard to lie to Sam and his other roommates. But he thought it was safer if he remained silent and did not give Susan a chance to kill him. "All the visitors are gone, and we're like your brothers. Jacob, can you just tell us what Susan asked you for?" Sam asked sincerely. The other two strained their ears, hoping Jacob would spill the beans. "Please stop talking about it and get some rest." Jacob sighed and felt very helpless. "That is so unlike you. You tell me everything." Sam was deeply disappointed. "Dude, you have been so secretive lately," said another roommate. Jacob couldn't help it. He used to be able to talk about anything with his friends, but in this case, there was nothing he could do. "But you do seem to have some luck with the ladies for sure," said the fourth roommate all of a sudden. The lights of the dorm were switched off, and the four guys were talking in the dark and weren't tired at all. "Yeah, I think our class president, Kathy, is interested in you too," the roommate continued. "How come?" asked Jacob. Finally, a topic he could participate in. "She keeps turning around to look at you nowadays. Don't tell me you didn't notice that," Sam chimed in. "Make your move if you like her. What's the point of hesitating?" the fourth roommate insisted. "Don't be silly. I think she's just concerned about a fellow classmate," said Jacob. Jacob felt a bit panicky. He really didn't care too much about these things anymore. He felt that he got involved in something he wasn't supposed to. Now he was unable to get away from it, and there would be danger waiting for him at any time. Class crushes were hardly something on Jacob's mind. "Don't you like Lisa, the most popular girl in the school?" teased Sam. "That is all you, all right? I never liked her," said Jacob. "But she is indeed beautiful. Someone else in the room likes her too, doesn't he?" "Don't you talk about me," said the third roommate. "You were the only one all over her, Sam." "Yeah, Sam is the ladies' man," teased the fourth roommate. The boys continued to talk and laugh until the morning, which left Jacob no chance to go out and cultivate at midnight. But he enjoyed spending time with his friends. It seemed like it had been forever since he had a normal conversation, let alone a night of banter. The next day was Friday, and they were all pretty close to the weekend. However, the only topic on everyone's lips was Jacob and Susan. Even Kathy, who never talked in class, was quietly discussing with the girls around her from time to time. Jacob could tell that she was talking about Susan from the annoyed looks she gave him. The teacher couldn't concentrate on the subject at hand as the students continued to discuss the hot topic. Although he had warned them a few times, it didn't stop the murmurs. It will probably be over by this weekend. They're just too bored, I guess. Last time when an attractive guy from fourth year began flirting with Lisa, everyone was talking about that with great interest. However, they switched their interest to something else in 2 or 3 days. Spinning his pen, Jacob hoped in vain. There was a knock on the classroom door, and the teacher, who was already annoyed with the students making noise, opened the door angrily. He was ready to lash out on the student who had dared to come this late to the lecture, but he was shocked to find Vice Principal Liam Davis standing outside. "Sir Liam, please come in," the teacher said quietly and took half a step back involuntarily. Liam kept a straight face and walked in. He looked at the teacher and then at the students in the class before asking, "How can a class be so disruptive and loud?" Seeing the vice principal enter the class, the students stopped talking completely. No one ever expected him to visit the class, and unfortunately, the class was being unusually loud when he was walking by. Liam's eyes were sweeping over the students in the class. When he made eye contact with Jacob, Jacob couldn't help but shiver. He felt his body freeze up for a moment. "Get your class under control and teach it well." Liam left promptly with these words. The students looked at each other in despair, and no one dared to talk again. The teacher felt such a relief at that moment and nodded with satisfaction as he saw that all his students were finally quiet. He could now teach in peace. Jacob gave a sigh of relief as well. He had a feeling that Elder Liam had come here on purpose, but he was glad he left him alone. The lunch break came pretty quickly once the class was quiet. However, Jacob and his friends did not have another class that afternoon, which meant they were free to go home or stay at the university and chill. They all decided to head back to the dorm and play cards. As they walked from one academic building to another to get to their dorm, they passed by the gate and saw a limousine in the parking lot. They approached the car and started talking about it. "So there's an arrogant rich kid getting picked up by a car like that, huh?" said Sam in a condescending tone. They had heard about a handful of rich kids at the university who got picked up on weekends by... But it was the first time for them to see someone getting picked up by a luxury car like this one. It wasn't prom, it was just a weekend. Why a limousine? Not only the four of them, but all the other students who lived in the dormitories had never seen a car like this and were admiring it as well. Whoever walked by the gate slowed down either intentionally or unintentionally in order to see who was getting picked up by the car. "Is someone trying to show off by getting picked up in this kind of car?" Laying his arm on Jacob, Sam said disdainfully as they approached the car. "Yeah, obviously they're showing off," said Jacob. There was nothing wrong with maintaining a low profile, especially at a school or college. They turned around to go to their dorm when the car doors suddenly opened. Two tall men in black suits and a short, elderly man got out of the car. Seeing the old man, Jacob got bitterly disappointed, because he had seen this elder at Sophie's father's office. He was Elder Frank, the old and disrespectful man Sophie hated so much that she wished she could tear him apart. "Jacob, Miss Sophie's family has invited you for a visit," the elder said, with a twinkle of joy in his eyes.
What does Elder Frank's sudden arrival mean for Jacob, and how will his visit to Sophie's family change everything? Will Jacob be able to uncover the truth about his past and his connection to Sophie's family?
Please subscribe to the Pocket FM YouTube channel and press the bell icon for instant notification. Check out our channel for more such exciting shows.
What secrets lie behind Jacob's engagement to Sophie? What role will Elder Frank play in Jacob's life? And what consequences will Jacob face if he resists his fate?
Jacob stared at the old man, stupefied. Sam and the others, however, suddenly let go of his arm and stepped away to stand at a distance from him. There were quite a number of students walking by the dorm entrance. Some had just got back from their classes, and the others were leaving for home with their backpacks. The others were simply curious about the limousine. They all started staring at Jacob curiously as the uniformed man and the elderly man approached him. Jacob was completely embarrassed, but he kept silent. "Please get in the car," Elder Frank said to Jacob reverently. "No!" Jacob's stubbornness exploded as he shouted. "What the hell is this? I didn't even get a notice beforehand." Jacob wasn't pleased about this at all. "My son, you are already engaged to Sophie. It's best not to act irrationally on these things," said Elder Frank. Although none of the other students were within earshot of their conversation, Sam and his other roommates could hear each and every word. "Engaged?" They couldn't help but say it out loud. "Who's Sophie?" Sam asked the others, confused by what was happening. but they simply shook their heads blankly in response. "Would you like us to keep waiting here?" Elder Frank asked kindly. "All right, you win." Seeing a crowd of students gathering, Jacob quickly got into the car without wasting another second. The black limousine drove away from the entrance along with Jacob. "It will be hard for it to be low-key after this," thought Jacob. "What's the deal with Jacob?" Sam spoke up as the car drove out of the university gates. The vehicle drove smoothly through the city for a little while before it arrived at a 2-story house. No one would think of it as the house of a rich family by its unpretentious look. The vehicle stopped, and Elder Frank got out of the car along with Jacob. He rang the doorbell. "Come in." A cheerful lady wearing an apron opened the door and said softly, "I've brought him, madam. I'm heading back now. Please call me if you need anything," Elder Frank told the woman politely. "Yes, thank you, Elder Frank. I won't keep you from your work. It seems like you are about to break through the 9th level of Purple Light Scroll. I won't waste any more of your time," she said softly. "Thank you, madam." Elder Frank curtsied, sat back inside the limousine, and drove away. The woman smiled at Jacob, who was at the door, and said, "Come and sit down." She had a warmth in her smile and a friendly face. Her hair was tied up elegantly as if she had just walked out of a painting. Seeing her, Jacob forgot about all the unpleasantness that had happened just a few minutes ago. "Oh my!" he exclaimed as he walked into the house. He stepped into the living room, which was cozy and luxurious. "You haven't eaten yet, have you?" She guided Jacob inside the house and asked. "No, not yet," he answered politely. He couldn't be annoyed anymore after this kind of treatment. Talking to this lady reminded him of his mother, who he hadn't seen in a long, long time. "I'm Helen, Sophie's mom. Her dad has gone to pick her up from school, and they should be back soon. Go ahead and take a seat. I'll go cook." She led Jacob to the couch and smiled. Then she walked into the kitchen. This must be the precise definition of what an understanding wife and loving mother is like, Jacob thought to himself as he watched her walking away. Jacob sat down and looked around the house. Even though it appeared to be plain and simple-looking on the outside, the interiors and the decoration were elegant and resplendent. A white staircase to the left led to the bedrooms on the second floor. There was a study on the right. A large, dark brown bookshelf inside the study depicted how knowledgeable the family was. The rug in the living room was soft and plush. Jacob could judge how wealthy the family was by looking at the size of the medieval-styled chandelier that hung in the middle of the living room. The doorbell rang, and soon Jacob heard footsteps approaching the living room. Dracon entered with Sophie, and as soon as she saw Jacob, she gritted her teeth. Sophie was wearing her light blue school uniform. Though she gritted her teeth with hate when she saw Jacob, she wasn't surprised at seeing him. Her dad had informed her of Jacob's arrival. "Oh, you're here," Dracon greeted Jacob with a friendly smile. "Hello." Jacob quickly stood up and greeted him. He didn't really see Dracon as his father-in-law, but he had to be polite since he was a guest here. He glimpsed at Sophie, who was now sitting on the chair, pouting. Jacob shivered at the thought of getting engaged and falling in love with a young girl like her, not to mention their complicated background. "It's okay, Soph," Dracon said calmly and turned to Sophie. "You guys chat. I still have some work to do." He walked into the study and started going through some documents. Sophie stood on the carpet as she stared at Jacob. She looked like she wanted to eat him alive. "Let me warn you, I never agreed to marry you," she said aggressively. "The problem is, I never wanted to get married to you either, okay? What can I do when I've been kidnapped and brought here?" Jacob gave Sophie an angry look as well. He then thought to himself, should I be getting angry at a schoolgirl? Oh no, wait, she's my fiancée. Jacob gritted his teeth. "I'm going upstairs to play on my computer. Sit by yourself." Sophie gave Jacob a scornful look and began to walk towards the stairs. "Sophie, where do you think you're going? Go back and sit with Jacob now." Dracon's stern voice came from the study. Sophie gritted her teeth and stopped walking. She pouted after contemplating seriously for a while, rolled her eyes, and slowly walked back down to the living room as if there were thousands of stones tied around her feet dragging her down. She sat on the couch beside Jacob reluctantly. "We can watch some TV if you don't want to talk." Jacob looked at her reluctantly and turned on the television with the remote control. Sophie kept on staring at him angrily. Ignoring her, Jacob went on browsing the channels to find something interesting to watch. A kids' channel came on and the song Baby Shark began to play. "Is that good?" Jacob turned to her. "That's more like your taste." "How dare you!" Sophie reached out to grab something from the table to hit him with. "Sophie!" Dracon thundered out her name again from the study. He knew exactly what Sophie was doing. It seemed as if he had left a pair of eyes in the living room. Sophie kept down the vase that she had grabbed reluctantly, but her eyes were still fixated on Jacob. "I'm warning you, do not make me mad." Jacob smiled lightly. "You hate me that much?" Sophie pouted. "Well, I don't like you at all." "Me neither. You are always mad, and you are not all that pleasant to be around either. It would be a pity if anyone had to marry you," said Jacob. "How could you?" Sophie's eyes were wide as she looked at Jacob. "Stop fighting, you two. You are going to be husband and wife in the future." Helen walked out of the kitchen with a dish in her hands. "Mom, he is bullying me," Sophie said in a childish manner. "I saw it all, and you were the one bullying him. Now be nice to Jacob and make him feel at home. He has come here for the first time." Helen smiled softly and walked back into the kitchen. "Fine, good for you. Uncle. Even my parents are on your side." Sophie had her scowl back on as soon as her mother left the room. "Why are you so reluctant in marrying me, by the way? Is it because I'm a stranger, or that you don't like me? Or is it because you have a boyfriend at school?" he asked as he thought about all the high school couples he saw on the street when he had gone to meet Sophie at her school. She looked cute that day, thought Jacob. Maybe if she was seeing someone, there might just be some way out of this, Jacob thought happily. He then thought about the bead in his stomach and felt disappointed all over again. He asked again, "Answer my question. Are you seeing someone, Sophie?"
Will Jacob and Sophie find a way to reconcile their differences, or will their arranged marriage tear them further apart? What surprises await Jacob as he becomes embroiled in Sophie's family and their mysterious world?
Please subscribe to the Pocket FM YouTube channel and press the bell icon for instant notification. Check out our channel for more such exciting shows.
Pocket FM.
To unlock all the episodes, click the link in bio.